What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. In this video, I'm going to do a long-range penetration test with my 300 Win Mag, and I'm going to be shooting at some lumber from 800 yards away. And the rifle I'm going to be using in this test is my Ruger M77 Hawkeye Alaskan, chambered in 300 Win Mag, and it has a 20-inch barrel. I'm going to be using factory ammunition. And the purpose of this test is to see not only what kind of penetration we get at 800 yards with a 300 Win Mag, but also, more importantly, what expansion we get with some popular hunting bullets, because there's a lot of debate on the internet about what the minimum recommended impact velocity is for popular hunting bullets such as the Barnes LRX, the Nosler Accubond, and others. So I'm going to put that to the test, and I'm going to find out what the minimum recommended impact velocity is for the Barnes LRX. And the medium for this test, as I mentioned, is going to be some lumber. I'm going to be shooting at some Douglas fir 2x12 framing lumber. What I did with this lumber is cut it to 18-inch lengths. And after cutting the lumber to 18-inch lengths, I screwed the lumber all together and basically made like a giant block of wood. And this way we're going to be able to see how many boards each particular bullet will penetrate through. And then we can compare that to the results of other lumber penetration tests that I've done with other firearms to give us a general understanding of what kind of penetration to expect from a 300 Win Mag at 800 yards. Now, I have already done a 500-yard penetration test. If you haven't seen that one, I'll leave a link in the top right corner of this video. So I recommend you guys check out the 500-yard penetration test. So I want to just show you guys the ammunition I'm going to be using for this test. And I'm going to be using factory ammo, but I'm going to be testing 3 different types of bullets. I'm going to be testing the Nosler Accubond, as I mentioned, the Barnes LRX, and I'm also going to be testing the Speer Hot-Cor. So these are 3 popular hunting bullets. The Nosler Accubond is one of the most popular, if not the most popular, bonded hunting bullet. The Barnes LRX is one of the top solid copper expanding bullets, and the Speer Hot-Cor is one of the most popular basic soft point expanding bullets that a lot of deer hunters use. So we're going to see if these bullets expand at 800 yards, and if they do expand, how much expansion occurs, and also what kind of penetration are we going to get, okay? So I just want to share with you guys some of the numbers with this ammunition, okay? So for the Nosler Accubond, I'm going to be using some Underwood ammo, okay? So this round is loaded by Underwood ammo, and out of my 20-inch barrel Ruger Alaskan, Ruger M77 Hawkeye Alaskan, that is, I chronographed this load at around 2,850 feet per second from the muzzle, and that's around 3,200 foot-pounds of muzzle energy. So it's not the hottest load for a 300 Win Mag, but that's actually better because I don't have to shoot at extreme ranges to get the same effect. So at 800 yards, this bullet is going to impact the lumber at around 1,600 feet per second. And it's going to have an impact energy of around 1,000 foot-pounds, which is around the same amount of muzzle energy as a .44 Magnum. Okay, so still a lot of energy at 800 yards, but it will be impacting at 1,600 feet per second, which is actually 100 feet per second lower than the minimum recommended impact velocity for the Nosler Accubond, which is 1,700 feet per second. So I'm really curious to see if this bullet will expand at 1,600 feet per second, 800 yards. Moving on, we got the Barnes LRX. This is the 175 grain version. And this one is a choice ammunition loading. And this one also leaves the muzzle of my Ruger M77 Hawkeye Alaskan at around 2850 feet per second, and also generates around 3,200 foot-pounds of muzzle energy, and also almost exactly the same impact velocity and impact energy as the Accubond, around 1,600 feet per second impact velocity at 800 yards, and also around 1,000 foot-pounds of impact energy at 800 yards. So really curious to see if this bullet will open up at 1,600 feet per second. A lot of people on the internet think that you have to keep these above 2,000 feet per second. Some say you can go down to 1,500 feet per second. So hopefully this test will shed some light on that. With an impact velocity of 1,600 feet per second, we're going to see if this bullet opens up, and if it does open up, how much it opens up. And then finally, we have the Spear Hot-Cor. This is just a basic cup and core soft point that a lot of deer hunters use. And this is the 180 grain version. This one has a muzzle velocity of 2,800 feet per second, and it's going to have an impact velocity of around 1,450 feet per second and an impact energy of around 850 foot-pounds, which is basically around the same energy as a snub-nose 44 Magnum at point-blank range, okay? So I'm really excited about this test. I've wanted to do it for such a long time. Let me just show you guys my rifle up close. So this is the Ruger M77 Hawkeye Alaskan. It has a 20-inch barrel. I know that is a very short barrel for a 300 Win Mag, but it is a great rifle. One thing I love about it is that it comes with iron sights, and that's one of the reasons why I purchased it, because it came with iron sights. And I have this Athlon Midas HMR 2.5 to 15 power scope on here. I have this Hogue stock, which has an aluminum bed block that goes all the way from the fore end to the buttstock. And I also have a Silencer Co. Omega 300 suppressor and a Coltac HTP suppressor cover and an Atlas bipod. So let's see what happens, guys. What do you think? Do you think these bullets are going to expand? How many pieces of wood do you think these bullets will penetrate through at 800 yards? So let's get to shooting. And after the test is over, I'm going to take a closer look at these bullets. And we're going to measure the expansion, the weight retention, and we're going to take a closer look at the wood to see what kind of penetration we got. So stay tuned, and I hope you enjoy the video. I like this rifle. With some hand loads, it's a lethal combination. Yeah. Alright, any other plans? Ideas? Not really, I mean. That's the biggest thing.
Feeling pretty confident now that I think I could probably
Alright, what range?
That's 600. One right next one. Bottom dead center. See, dead one. Feeling pretty confident now that I can buy for 5,000.
All right, what range?
It's at 600. One right next one. This one, because this one has so many bore holes. I was looking. I thought you were in this one.
No, not. Well, this one's got a lot right in the middle.
You know what? Do this.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
What we gotta do is make sure I have the right box on here, so the
Yeah,
first
one
one
was like,
was,
alright,
this
let
is,
me zero.
All right, guys, so I want to go over the results of the test with you, and I managed to recover the bullets. Check that out. We're going to take a closer look at these bullets to see what exactly happened, but before I do that, I want to just show you guys the wood. I want to show you the damage to the wood from these bullets, the wound channel. I want to show you how big of a hole these bullets made at 800 yards. So I was actually very impressed with the expansion, with the wound channel, the diameter of the wound channel, and I was impressed with the penetration as well. So you really cannot go wrong with a 300 Win Mag, even with moderate power loads like these. These were only traveling at 2,850 feet per second out of the muzzle, okay, which is not really a hot 300 Win Mag load by any means. It's actually a weak 300 Win Mag load. But with a hot 300 Win Mag load, let's say you had these bullets going at 3,000 foot a second or 3,100 feet a second, that would extend the range of these bullets to beyond 1,000 yards. So we got expansion with all of these bullets, including the LRX. So I'm going to show you guys the bullets up close, and we're going to take some measurements with calipers, and we're going to see what kind of weight retention we got. But we did get expansion with the LRX, the Accubond, and the Spear Hot-Cor. Okay, so that's why I do these tests, guys, because if I didn't do this test, I wouldn't know, and I might spend double the amount of money on ammo or bullets to hand load that are specifically rated for long range use. But you'll see when I show you guys these bullets that these bullets expanded fine. And for example, the Accubond or the Spear Hot-Cor, they're not really marketed as a long range bullet. They're more like a medium range bullet. But even with moderate velocities, I was able to get good expansion at 800 yards. Okay, now if I pushed these bullets to over 3,000 feet a second, I could easily get this same level of expansion as I got at 800 yards. I would get at probably 1,100 yards or even 1,200 yards. Okay, now if we're talking about special long range bullets like the Accubond long range or the normal Bond Strike, which are supposed to expand at 1,300 feet a second, then you're talking about a mile, okay? Expansion at about a mile. Are we going to hunt elk at a mile? I don't plan to do that. Even 800 yards is long distance for hunting game. There's a lot of things that can go wrong when you're shooting at 800 yards. Even a slight gust of wind can blow your bullet 5 feet, okay? Even a 5 mile per hour wind can blow one of these bullets 2 feet at 800 yards, okay? And I had to actually use a lot of ammo during this test. So for every shot that I hit with the wood, I probably had another shot that I missed because of the wind, okay? The wind blew the bullets off to the side, and that's why I actually stacked these two blocks of wood together so I would maximize the size of the target and I wouldn't have to waste a lot of ammo trying to get on target, okay? But even shooting off a bench at 800 yards with a slight breeze was still making it hard for me to get precise hits on this wood at 800 yards. So if you're considering long range hunting, I recommend you spend a lot of time at the range before you do that, because taking shots at game beyond 500 yards is very risky, and there's a chance you could wound that animal, and we don't want to wound animals. We're humane hunters. We want to look good to the public. We don't want to be gut-shotting animals, okay? So spend some time at the range, actually go out and shoot at long distances in windy conditions, and you'll see it's not as easy as it sounds, okay? But nevertheless, for those of you guys who do want to take that chance and you do want to shoot at long range, this test will help you out tremendously. So I'm going to start with the wood on the right here. So with the Federal non-typical 180 grain Spear Hot-Cors, we only penetrated through 3.5 boards, almost 4. Same thing with the Accubond. The Accubond was traveling 50 feet per second faster. And also the Accubond penetrated through around 3.5, almost 4. Okay, so to give you a comparison of what kind of penetration that is, at 5 yards with my 44 Magnum snub-nose revolver or my 10 millimeter pistol, I can penetrate 3 to 4 of these 2x12s or 2x10s, okay, with hard casts or solid copper bullets, okay? So at 800 yards, 300 Win Mag soft points will have the same penetration roughly as a 44 Magnum snub nose or a full-size 10 millimeter with hard casts or solid copper bullets at point blank, okay? So that's just absolutely crazy, and that's why the 300 Win Mag is one of the kings of hunting cartridges, okay? Even today, it's still very popular, and there's a reason why, okay? It's practical, it's common, and it works, okay? Sure, you have 300 PRC and 300 Ultra Mag and 300 Weatherby, but you're only getting a little bit more velocity, but it's much harder to find that ammunition, and it's harder to find rifles chambered for those cartridges. So 300 Win Mag, in my opinion, is still the best general purpose North American big game hunting cartridge. And the Barnes LRX 175 grain loaded by Choice Ammunition, penetrated through 3, 4, and 5 boards. So pretty wide spread there. So that's a lot of penetration. 5 boards is the same amount of penetration that I get with my 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum with Underwood ammo extreme penetrators at 5 yards away. Okay, so the Barnes LRX from a 300 Win Mag at 800 yards can penetrate about the same as a 500 Smith & Wesson Magnum at 5 yards with Underwood ammo extreme penetrators. That's really impressive, guys. Okay, and that's more penetration than a 10 millimeter hard cast or a 44 Magnum hard cast. So I'm really impressed by the Barnes LRX, as well as the Accubond and even the Speer Hot-Cor. Very, very impressed by these bullets, guys. So check this out. Look at this wound channel from one of the Accubonds. This was the one that I hit that was right in between the 2 blocks. And look at how it started to expand as it penetrated, but it penetrated through 5. But look at the size of this wound channel. Here's my thumb. I can fit my thumb in there, guys. 800 yards. That's impressive. So let's go over these pieces of wood here. So this is the first block. Okay, you can see I hit here with the Federal, another one with the Federal, and then we had another Federal here, and then 3 Accubonds, 1, 2, and 3 right on the side there. Okay, so this is the first board. Not much to see here, just some small entrance holes. Okay, and here's the back of the first board. We got some small exit holes here as these bullets are just starting to expand, but nothing crazy. I would say probably 35 caliber sized holes here, exit holes. Okay, so this is the first board, and here we have the second board, and now you can see these holes are getting bigger already in the second board. Okay, here's my index finger, and you can see compared to my index finger how big these holes are. I would say probably about a 45 caliber sized hole here, okay, in the second board. All right, so here we have the Accubond, 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 and then the Federal, and the Federal down here, okay? So the holes are pretty much the same diameter between the Speer Hot-Cor and the Accubond. Okay, nice big holes, guys. Look at that. That is just impressive at 800 yards. Absolutely insane. Here we have the exit holes in the second board. Okay, nice big exit holes. Here's my thumb for comparison. I'd say this exit hole here is probably about 3/4 of an inch in diameter. This one as well. So even at 800 yards, these bullets are still disrupting a lot of material. Okay. And here we have the third board. Okay. Here we have the Speer Hot-Cor, Accubond, Accubond, another Accubond, and Speer Hot-Cor. Okay. So pretty big holes here. Here's the back of the third board. Okay, big exit holes here, as you can see. And then here we have the fourth board, and this is where most of our bullets got stuck in the fourth board here. Okay, and these big holes were for me trying to get the bullets out. They were embedded really deep into the fourth board. They almost passed through. They were really deep in there, so I had to use a drill to get them out. So that's what these big holes are. You can see these drill holes here. I was trying to get the bullets out. Okay, so that was the right side, the right block, and here we have the left block. All right, so here we have our LRX, LRX, and LRX. And then here we have an Accubond, a Federal. All right, and we also had one Accubond that actually hit right in the middle, right between these two blocks, which is really crazy. And that one penetrated through 5 boards. But it was pretty crazy luck for me to hit right there. So here's the back of the first board. Not much to report here, just some small exit holes. Check that out. Okay. And here we have the second board. Look at these nice holes here. These are the LRX holes. Nice big holes. Look at my finger here compared to these holes. I would say probably about a 40 caliber, 45 caliber diameter hole. Here's the third LRX. Here's an Accubond, and here's the Federal, okay, Spear Hot-Cor. And then here's the back of the second board, okay. Pretty small exit holes on those LRXs, but still probably over 30 caliber on the exit hole. And then there's actually a pedal here from one of those LRXs that broke off. You can see that shine in there, okay. It's one of the pedals, all right. And then here's the exit hole from one of the Spear Hot-Cors. Here we have the third board, and here we have the Spear Hot-Cor, LRX, 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 and Accubond. So notice the size of the Accubond. Look at that expansion with the Accubond. The Accubonds always expand really nicely. And the LRX holes are still a good size, but nowhere near as big as the Accubond hole, okay? But these LRXs had almost double the penetration of the Accubond, okay? So here we have the Spear Hot-Cor exit hole, LRX, 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 and Accubond. Look at that exit hole on the Accubond. It's pretty crazy. This is a third board. And then here we have the fourth board. We had our LRX. One of them got stuck in the fourth board. And then here we had the Accubond got stuck. I tried to drill it out. And then here's the Spear Hot-Cor that got stuck. And then the 2 LRXs kept going through. And here are the exit holes here, okay? These are the 2 LRX exit holes, fourth board. And here we have the fifth board. One of the LRXs was stuck in the fifth board, okay, penetrated through 4. And I tried to get it out. That's why you see all that mess there, okay? And then the other LRX kept going through. And here's the exit hole from that LRX. And then here we have the sixth board. And we had one LRX that was stuck in the sixth board, okay? So pretty impressive expansion and penetration. Let's take a closer look at these bullets now, but I'm really impressed by this ammunition and by these bullets. Again, not the hottest ammunition, but it was still able to perform very well at 800 yards. And honestly, I think all these bullets would still perform well at even 1,000 yards at these muzzle velocities, believe it or not. So let's take a closer look at these bullets now and measure the expansion and check the weight retention. All right, guys, so here are our bullets. Look at that nice expansion, 800 yards, 300 Win Mag. So we have these 3 here are the Barnes LRX. These 5 in the middle are the Nosler Accubond. And then these 4 on the left are the Spear Hot-Cor. So I'm going to start with the Barnes LRX. We're going to go through all these bullets one by one. I'm going to show you guys up close what they look like, and I'm going to measure the expansion. So here's our first LRX. Check this one out, guys. Nice expansion. Okay, check that out. Okay, expanded nicely. at 800 yards. And all the petals are still on this thing. Okay, look how long that bullet is, guys. Excellent expansion though. So let's measure the expansion. Got my calipers here. We got about 45 caliber diameter. Look at that, 0.458 on one side. Let's check the other side. We got 0.406. So still a lot of expansion. Okay, check that out, guys. So again, impact velocity around 1600 feet per second. All right, 800 yards. And then here's the other one. You can see this one lost a petal. Okay, but it's still expanded nicely. Look at that. It's pretty interesting. Check that out. All right, let's measure the expansion here now. We got 0.54 inches on one side, and then we got 0.371 on the other side. And then here we have the third LRX, and this one actually lost 2 petals. Okay, check that out. Lost 2 petals, and the other 2 petals are still on there. So let's just measure this one here. You know, even with losing 2 petals, you're still getting a 40 caliber diameter wound channel. Okay, pretty impressive. And we got 0.35 on the other direction, so pretty impressive. Let's move into some Accubonds. Check this one out, guys. Look at that expansion. I was not expecting this much expansion with the regular Nosler Accubond. That's a lot of expansion. Look at that, how the jacket just peeled back. It's really impressive. So let's just measure this one. We got about 0.55 inches of expansion. Okay. And then on the narrower side, we got 0.48. So still a lot of expansion, guys. Okay. At 800 yards with a standard Accubond and a moderate velocity, 2850 feet per second. Still getting a lot of expansion. Okay. 100 feet per second less than recommended by Nosler. Here's another Accubond. Check this one out. Look at how that nose expanded beautifully. Perfect mushroom almost. 800 yards, impact velocity, 1600 feet a second. Check that out. Let's measure the expansion on this one. We got 0.514 and we got 0.434. So still a lot of expansion. Check that out. Okay. Here's the third Accubond. Check that out, guys. Kind of looks like the first one. But I was definitely not expecting this much expansion, that's for sure. And let's measure this one now. If we go to the widest part, we got around 0.55 inches. Okay, and then the narrower side got around 0.38. Okay, here's our fourth Accubond. Check this one out. Nice expansion. And let's check this one. We got 0.47 and we got 0.45, so about 45 caliber expansion there. Okay, check that out. Just looks awesome, looks perfect. Check that out. You can see the rifling marks on the jacket there. And obviously the core stayed with the jacket, as Accubonds are supposed to do. And here's the 5th Accubond. Check this one out. And those scratches on the jacket are from me trying to pry this bullet out of the wood. But look at that expansion, guys. Absolutely perfect. And let's measure this one. We got 0.42 and we got 0.47. Okay, so 0.48. So very impressive. And finally, let's look at the Spear Hot-Cor. Similar results with the Spear Hot-Cor. Similar amount of expansion. 180 grain bullet. Impact velocity around 1450 feet per second. Impact energy around 850 foot-pounds. So the bullet still expanded quite a bit and held together nicely. Let's measure this one. We got 0.39 on one side and we got 0.49 on the other side. Here's another one. Check this one out, guys. Look at that. Pretty impressive. And this isn't even a fancy, expensive bullet. This is just a bare bones soft point. Check that out, guys. So sometimes more expensive doesn't always mean much more better. I mean, at 800 yards, this would still take out an elk even. So let's measure this one. 0.417 and we got 0.38. Okay, and here's the 3rd Spear Hot-Cor. All right, check that out. Nice expansion there. And let's measure 0.40 and we got 0.38. Okay, so less expansion than the Accubond, but still held together nicely. And here's the last Spear Hot-Cor. Okay, look at how the core stayed with the jacket. And let's measure this one. We got also 0.41 and 0.42. All right, so interesting results. Looks like with the Accubond we got the most expansion. The Accubond's expanded to around 50 caliber and the Spear Hot-Cor expanded to around 40 caliber and the Barnes LRX expanded to around 40 caliber as well. So let's weigh these and see what kind of weight retention we got. All right, guys, I got my reloading scale. Got this 100-gram weight. We're just going to check to make sure it's zeroed. So it's mostly zeroed. It's off by 0.02, but that's good enough. We're not reloading here. We're just weighing bullets. So let's start with the LRX. Here's the first LRX. $174.5, so basically 100% weight retention. It's really impressive. Here's the second LRX. Lost one pedal, but the other pedals expanded. Got 170.5, so basically almost 100% weight retention on that one. And here's the third LRX. This one lost the 2 pedals. Okay, lost 2 pedals, kept 2, and also 170.1 grains. So basically 99% to 100% weight retention with the LRX. Now let's move into the Accubonds. Here's our first Accubond. Let's weigh this one, see what kind of weight retention we got. 159.4. That's still a lot of weight retention, so only losing about 20 grains. It's very impressive. Here we have the second Accubond. Check that out. Nice expansion. Also about 160 grains. Only lost about 20 grains. Here's the third Accubond. That looks crazy the way the jacket peeled back. Check that out. 163.2. Here's the fourth Accubond. 159.3. And here's the last Accubond. Got 165. So about 15 to 20 grains of weight loss, which is really not much. Let's move into the spear Hot-Cors. Here's the first spear Hot-Cor. Check this one out. Let's weigh this one. Got 163.7. Here's the second spear Hot-Cor. Okay. 163.0. Here's the third spear Hot-Cor. 155.2. And here's the last spear Hot-Cor. Impact velocity around 1,450 feet per second. 163.0. So also similar weight retention as the Nosler Accubond. So pretty interesting results. I'm really happy with the way this test turned out. So stay tuned to my channel for more long-range shooting and more long-range penetration tests. The next one I'm going to do is probably 300 Remington Ultra Mag with some Norma Bond Strike. But that's pretty much it for this one. In the meantime, you can check out my long-range shooting playlist, and you can also check out my 300 Win Mag playlist. But that's pretty much it. Take care. God bless. And don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere.